Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us on Facebook or on YouTube for our program and panel discussion this evening, which is the community impact of drug court in Manitowoc County. Before I turn it over to Jason Latva, I just wanted to mention the people and organizations that are responsible for bringing this program to you this evening. First up is the League of Women Voters of Manitowoc County, Ruth Manitowoc, which is an interfaith justice group that is focused on responding with understanding, truth, and hope, hence Ruth. NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Health Wisconsin, and Manitowoc Public Library. So without further ado, I will now turn this over to Jason Latva, the coordinator of Manitowoc County Drug Court, who will be handling the proceedings pretty much from here on out. So take it away, Jason.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, everybody, all the people who made this happen. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the community impact of the drug court program in Manitowoc County. We have it broken down. Judge Dewane is going to start us off. He's going to give an overview of drug courts themselves, and in particular, our drug court, the structure of our drug court, our format, and kind of talk about drug courts and treatment courts in his own words as a legal professional. I'll follow the focus up on that with our program specifically, some of the achievements that we've had and accomplishments, statistics, goals, the financial impact of the program in Manitowoc County, and the methodology we've used to get the results that we have seen. The results I'm sharing tonight and the statistics are actually through September 6th of 2017, which is when we had our first open court, and September 9th of this year. So statistics have changed a little bit since we've taken on some new clients and had some completion since then. But this is the same numbers that I would present to the county board, the city council, etc. And then we'll end the presentation with the most important part of the program, which is the participants. We've had 3 past and current participants agreed to kind of share their story, along with how the drug court impacted their life in recovery. We had 1 graduate, 1 current participant, and 1 past participant. There's been no coaching. I have no idea how they're going to talk about drug court. They could very well say it's horrible, and you'll immediately see me fall off my chair in the fetal position. So hopefully it's not the case, but if it is, it's their reality. So we have Joey Golden Jr., who is on his attempting to get on right now, MEGHAN, GEHRKE, and Christy Hobble. So with that, I will send it off to Judge Dewane to get this party started. You're on mute, Judge.
You're on mute.
Yep, sorry. You would think after doing court virtually for almost a year that I'd remember that, but so it goes. As Jason indicated, we've been doing drug court now for a little over 3 years. Tim, can I get the next slide? And the one after that. Yeah. So what is drug court? And I'll read you some of the stuff on the slide. If this were the kind of thing where everyone would have the presentation to take home with them, I'd probably skip a lot of it. But I think some of this is really important. So drug court is a specially designed court calendar or docket, purposes of which are to achieve a reduction in recidivism and substance use among nonviolent offenders, and to increase the offender's likelihood of successful rehabilitation through early, continuous, and intense judicially supervised treatment, mandatory periodic drug testing, community supervision, and use of appropriate sanctions and other rehabilitation services. Next. Our Manitowoc County Drug Court Program team consists of myself, Judge Mark Rohr, who was the judge that presided over drug court for the first couple of years. District Attorney Jacqueline McBree, Attorney Ann Larson from the Public Defender's Office, Captain Jeremy Cronforst from the City of Manitowoc Police Department, Jail Administrator Joy Brixis, Jerry Mucci from Manitowoc County Human Services, Treatment Provider Don Sweet, Maria Pla, they're both treatment providers from Human Services, Jen Zick from Probation and Parole, Serena Hoffman from Probation and Parole, Ellen Loftus from Probation and Parole. Jason, as you've met, is our coordinator, and Angela Linderud is Judge Rora's judicial assistant, who acts as the coordinator of everything behind the scenes. If you've ever watched for the folks who are older, if you've ever watched the Muppet Show, she's like Scooter. She runs everything behind the scenes, and she's awesome at it. Next. Okay, so who do we serve? We take adult defendants into drug court. It's voluntary, and that's a key. Everyone is offered the opportunity to participate in drug court. No one is compelled to participate in drug court. Yes, ultimately, when they're brought in, they're sentenced to drug court as part of their sentence, but that's because they've agreed to it ahead of time. We don't force anyone into drug court, and that is primarily because you can't force anyone to want to be ready to attempt to do the work and push themselves along the road of recovery. It doesn't work that way. They've got to be ready to do it, and they've got to be willing to do it on their own. We're a post-plea court, which means that they enter pleas to the charges, they're convicted, and then as part of their sentence, they're sentenced to comply with the drug court program. We take nonviolent offenders. That's due primarily to the grant we're under. But overall, and perhaps Jason touches on this later with some of the statistics, I'm not sure, but most of the most of our clients don't commit violent crimes. I think it's fair to say most drug addicts, at least the ones I've come across with since taking the bench, don't commit violent crimes. They commit crimes out of desperation because they're trying to figure out how they're going to feed their addiction. They're not out to hurt people. They're out to what they think is to help themselves. So we try and break that down and get them to change course. We've taken people on open felony charges or alternatives to revocation. An open felony charge is simply you've got pending charges, and the defense attorney and the district attorney work out an agreement if the person wants to be in drug court, is appropriate in drug court, or appropriate for drug court, I should say, and the agreement's made to bring them in. They sort that out in terms of how that's going to look when they present it to me in court on the plea to the felony charges. Alternatives to revocation could be somebody's on probation already for drug-related offenses, and maybe they commit another drug-related offense, or they have some other violation of their rules of probation, and rather than revoke them, if it makes more sense and they're willing to do it, we can take them into drug court. They have to rank medium or high risk on the COMPASS assessment. The COMPASS assessment is something that deals with, it's like a risk predictor, and it helps us. It helps give us an idea as to what their risk for recidivism is. And as Jason's got it there, recidivism is the tendency of a person to reoffend. And I can guarantee you, for almost everyone who suffers from a drug addiction and commits crime, their risk for recidivism is high, because if they can't get their addiction under control, their addiction is going to control them, and it's going to force them to do things that are causing them to break the law and to offend. They have to have high needs on the AODA clinical assessment, which is they have to have high needs for substance use treatment. Next, yeah, there we go. Our structure, our program structure, is it takes a minimum of 12 months to complete. It's a 5-phase program. Phases 1 through 3 are a minimum of 60 days that the person has to have clean time, have complied with the rules of the program before there can be potential for advancement. Phases 4 and 5, there has to be a minimum of 90 days on those phases of clean time and compliance with the rules before they can advance. Every day, they have to call in for a random urine analysis, and that's every day, 365 days a year. Holidays, weekends, it doesn't matter. Every day, everyone in the program calls in, and they're told whether or not they have to come in and test. And they test a minimum of 2 times per week. It can be more than that. And the 2 times that they test aren't scheduled. It could be back to back. It could be at the start of the week and at the end of the week. It could be any 2 days in between. And the penalty for missing a test, and actually, Jason, if you can unmute, is the reset of the clean time, is that for missing the test, or is that for missing a call-in as well?
Reset of the team clean time is for missing an actual test, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Missing a call is community service.
Yeah, and so you know, when we talk about 365 days a year, we had a client that was, I don't know, a week or so from graduating, and she missed her call-in, which happened to be a test day, and it happened to be on Christmas, and there was no question in anybody's mind that she didn't miss because she was trying to hide use. She just missed because she has kids and it's Christmas and it gets busy. But the rules are the rules, and we had to reset her clean time because that's the way the program is. Whether you're starting out, whether you're near the end, you're held to the same standard, and that's explained to everybody at the time they consider starting. There are a minimum of 3 community support meetings per week. Those are what a lot of people would think of as AA or NA meetings, but it's more than that. There are all kinds of different community support meetings, and recovery isn't the same thing for everybody. It's not the same meetings for everybody. It's finding what works best for you and getting people to go along with that. There's the rule of 40, and we'll show you some of those sheets in a second. Folks are required to complete 40 hours of pro-social activity, whether that be employment, attending meetings, attending counseling sessions, volunteering, community service. They have to come up with 40 hours. It's a program that requires a lot of work. It's not that you sit and coast through it and stay clean and you'll get to the end of drug court. There's much more to it than that. And there has to be a minimum of 9 months involved in active AODA or mental health or both treatment. If we can get the next one. So this is what a rule of 40 sheet looks like. It's a little tough to, I'm sure it looks a little small to most people, but just so everybody's aware, it's got slots for each day, and the folks have to fill it in. At the top, they have to tell us positive things they did to maintain a drug and alcohol-free lifestyle, and then they have to describe a positive event that happened this week. I'm a real stickler for that one. I don't like 2-word answers there, and I typically don't accept 2-word answers there. It says describe for a reason, not list it. Folks usually come around to that, and they understand, once they start doing that, the benefit of describing it. But there are spots on the form for signatures of the people who are either in charge of supervising them for community service or coordinate the meetings that they're attending, the amount of time they spend there, and then that adds to their total hours. And on the back side of the sheet, which would be the right side of what you're looking at, the total hours is listed there, and we need to have it equal 40. You're not necessarily penalized if you're close and there's a legitimate reason that you didn't get there that week. And we give people a grace period at the start of the program as we're trying to get them, used to structure again. But eventually, you need to be able to keep running and keep up with your rule of 40. And we do stick to it. And there are sanctions for it if you don't complete it. Can we get the next one? This is what one of the meeting sheets would look like. They just list the type of meeting they attended, how much time they spent there, the date, the topic, and they get the signature of the person who coordinated it, and the phone number so that we can verify it if we need to, if we have questions about it. And they bring all those sheets to their court appearances. While they used to bring them when we were in person every week, now they pretty much run those through Jason. A lot's changed trying to do drug court virtually. Joy, I think for sure can talk about the differences, because Joy's been in the program both when we were in person and since going virtual. And it's a difference. And I commend everybody, all the clients, for being able to, get themselves to make it work. Next one. Okay, so in my own words, what is drug court? Depending on, how involved you've been in following the process as we've tried to get this going. I ran for judge 3 times and was elected the 3rd time. And every time I ran, I told people we need to get drug court going. And it was going to be my #1 priority if I got elected. And it has exceeded. I felt it was that important before we had it, and it has exceeded my wildest expectations in terms of achieving the ends that I thought it could. You're taking people who really feel, when you're dealing with high risk, high need drug addictions, you're dealing with people who don't feel like anyone cares. A lot of times they don't care about themselves. All they care about is how are they going to get high again, and they've kind of given up on thinking anyone in society really cares about them. They've burned bridges with their family. They've burned bridges with their friends. They certainly feel like they've burned bridges with the system because usually they'll have some fairly extensive records because their addiction's not usually something that flares up to the point that you'd get on drug court's radar in short order. Usually it builds over time. One of the questions I like asking people in court when they reach a milestone, a sobriety milestone, like 4 months or 5 months, when was the last time you were sober 4 or 5 months on your own? And it wasn't forced on you because you were in custody or because you were in inpatient treatment. And oftentimes the answer is never, or they can't remember. And that says something. We've got 24 names on our plaque now. We filled up our first plaque of drug court graduates. And it's something that I'd kind of lost track of because as I indicated, we're not in person anymore. And the plaque hangs in the branch 1 courtroom. I happened to be in there talking to Judge Rohr about something after or while he was in the courtroom, And I looked at it and saw that at the time we were one name shy, and since then Joy's graduated, but he's filled it out. And having been a prosecutor in this county and having been on the bench now for 3 years, I look at those names, and I know that those names are, names that we had in the system over and over, and in some cases over and over. And to think of the fact that they're not engaging in that behavior anymore, that they've gotten themselves to the point where they've bought into their own self-worth, which is really hard to get people who are that low, to convince them that that they have self-worth and that life can be better. But to see those names and to think of all the harm that they've caused and all the harm that they've prevented being caused because they've worked tirelessly to stay sober. They don't do it for everybody else. They do it for themselves. But I like to talk to some of the graduates and ask them to reflect on what life was like before and the people they hurt and where they're at now, and the fact that that they're not hurting people anymore. And it's profound. Drug court is hands down the most beneficial program that I've ever been a part of, that I've ever even heard being available on a community level. A lot of it is due to Jason. Jason came in, took the job as coordinator when we literally had nothing. I mean, for those who have followed us over the last 3 years, there wasn't a lot in town as far as treatment goes, and the attitude of supporting people in recovery wasn't what it is now. And Jason came into this position and literally found the cupboard bare. And what he's worked with us to build is outstanding. And I wouldn't trade this program for anything. I'd give up just about any other tool I have at my disposal as a judge before I would ever think about turning the page on drug court. It just does way too much in terms of providing benefits to the people, society, everyone. It's incredible as far as that goes. So that's drug court in my words. I think it's Jason's turn now.
Thank you, Judge. I'm going to start hitting on some of the accomplishments, achievements, statistics. The tough thing about statistics is, they don't really tell the story. They're numbers, but each one of those numbers has a face, has a life. They're a mother, a son, a daughter. They're a person that has value. And I've been lucky enough to be with the program since the beginning. So every one of these numbers I have a personal relationship with. So there is a lot of power in numbers that we'll see, but it's even more powerful when you can put a name and a face by them. Luckily, we have a few here today that were willing to come. So some of our accomplishments and achievements throughout the first 3 years of this program. Next slide, Tim. We were awarded the Democracy in Action Award from the League of Women Voters. League of Women Voters has been a humongous support to this program. They've been there since day one. Can't speak highly enough of them. We were awarded the Crime Prevention Award from Manitowoc Crime Prevention Committee. We were Collaboration Award nominee for the Manitowoc Chamber of Commerce. Two of our team members have won Manitowoc Persons of the Year by the Herald Times Reporter, myself and Judge Rohr in 2018 and 2019. And we've also been involved in getting multiple grants awarded, improving the existing services and bringing new services to the community, which is always good. Because when I arrived here in 2017, We had some service deficits in the community, and people at Human Services, Lori Fury, Patricia Dodge, worked really hard at building up a set of services that we can be proud of in this county.
Jason, can I jump in for 1 second?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to bring people's attention to the award, and it's not that it's any better or any worse than the other awards, but the award we got for the crime prevention from the Manitowoc Crime Prevention Committee, that award is given out by the City of Manitowoc Police Department. And when we got that award and I brought that plaque in to everybody, I told them, take a look at this. The people who arrested you are the ones who have just recognized you as having a large hand in preventing crime in this community. I mean, if that doesn't speak volumes in and of itself, I don't know what does. And to listen to officers talk about the program when their perception of what it was going to be versus the reality of their understanding of what it is, that award speaks to that. The same group of people that used to spend their time arresting our clients and turning them over for prosecution gave them an award for having a large part in preventing crime in the community. So I think that's worth noting.
Thanks, Judge. Okay, go ahead, Tim. We've had 12 nominees from our team nominated for the Dose of Hope Award through Lighthouse Recovery Community Center. This is another organization that has done a ton for the recovery community. Opened up a couple of years ago. Chrisma Rush really spearheaded it. She's growing it as every day. Lieutenant Remaker, Judge Rohr, Captain Cronforce, Public Defender Ann Larson, Jerry Mucci, Don Sweet, Maria Pla, all award winners from our team. I really can't say enough about the treatment team that's over at Human Services. Jerry, Don, Maria, Whitney in mental health, who works with our clients a lot. Michelle, they, in my opinion, are world-class therapists right here in Manitowoc County, and you're not going to find a group of people that care much more for their clients than those guys. Next slide. Judge Dewane, District Attorney Labrie, Angela Linderud, Serena Hoffman from probation, and myself. Client-wise, we've had 2 who have completed their HSED, 9 attending college, 22 gainfully employed, 7 in the recovery industry, 20 had obtained driver's license that did not have them when they started the program, 9 completed certified recovery coach training, and 7 completed peer support specialist training. 6 beautiful children born to healthy parents, actually supported 4 moms through their entire pregnancy. That was a privilege. And 23 parent-child reunifications, which is what this is really all about. So some of the statistics. Go ahead. We've had 46 total participants that have been enrolled in our program, 28 male and 18 female, 22 successful graduates at the time this was done in September, 13 male and 9 female. Average time of completion is 475 days. If you recall earlier, Judge Dewane said the program is developed to could be completed in 12 months. It's taken about 18 months, which is when we started this program, what we expected, 15 to 18 months. We've had 10 terminations, 4 male, 6 female, and the average time to termination is 323 days. So we generally give people quite an opportunity before they're removed from the program. I'd also like to point out, up until March of 2020, we had only had 5 terminations. So since March 2020, COVID isolation, we've had 5 terminations on their own. And right now we're at a 69% successful completion rate. We've had 58 known relapse events. That's either through self-report or it was discovered through urine analysis. We've had 46 jail sanctions or probation holds, totaling 621 days in jail. That's about 4% of total days in client days spent in jail sanctions. We try not to use jail very often. We definitely want to use it as a last resort, but it is a tool in our toolbox. So the average age when people are entering the program, for a male, it's 30. For a female, it's 29 years old. Average age of first use of any substance is 12 and a half years old. That first use is generally alcohol or THC. Average age of first use of heroin is 23 years old, and average age of first use of methamphetamines is 24 years old. So our goals and results. What we were looking for when we started this program, we wanted to decrease recidivism by 20%, so decrease the continued committing of crimes by our clients. We wanted to decrease failure to appears. When a person has a court case and they fail to appear, that causes backups, costs money, time, decrease bail jumping charges, decrease operating after revocations, and reduce substance use. Keeping in mind, when the drug court program was initially developed back in 1989 in Miami, Florida, it was really designed to kind of stop the revolving door of people coming in and out of the criminal justice system. And so obviously, sobriety was a real key, but sobriety is really hard to track and keep track of long term. So what they really wanted to do is stop the recidivism or the continuation of committing crimes. So what they figured is if we can help people with their substance use disorder, which is probably the reason most of them are committing crimes, then the crime should go down with it. So prior to drug court entry, these next few pages that I have and go through, I'll be comparing the numbers prior to entering drug court and post-entry. And the post-entry would be from the day they started drug court all the way on to today. It's not just their time spent in drug court. So prior to entry, there was 465 total criminal cases. After drug court entry, that's dropped to 3. 243 felony cases, which has dropped to 3. 153 misdemeanors, which has dropped to 0. 69 criminal traffic, which has dropped to 0. And 162 failure to appears, which has dropped to 0. There are 444 felony charges after drug court entry. That's 6. 652 misdemeanors. That's dropped to 1. 60 operating after revocations has went to 0. 278 bail jumpings has went to 0, and total traffic citations has went from 175 to 1. Total Manitowoc Police Department and 2 Rivers Police Department negative contacts. Prior was 1,094. After was 9. Arrests 1,041. After to 6. 839 criminal charges to 5. 642 to 20 for citations, and 208 warrants issued down to 0. And finally, total circuit court time logged 496 and a half hours prior, 8.25 hours post, 225 county arrests to 8, 661 county bookings to 56, just about 18,000 total days in jail down to 1,800, and 13,535 total days in prisons by our participants down to 816 after. So as you can imagine, just from those numbers that I was reading off, we've seen a pretty dramatic percent decrease. We've seen a 99% decrease in total criminal cases and total felony cases, 100% decrease in misdemeanor cases, criminal traffic, and failure to appears, 99% decrease in felony charges and misdemeanor charges, Next. 100% decrease in operating after revs and bail jumpings, 99% decrease citations, 98% decrease in traffic time, or court time, I'm sorry, 97% decrease in arrests, and 92% decrease in total county bookings. And just about 99% average for everything for the Manitowoc Police Department, Two Rivers, negative contacts, arrests, criminal charges, citations, and warrants. Total days in jail decreased by 91%, and total days in prison decreased by 94%. So as you can remember, some of the goals we had as far as 20% decrease, things like that, I'd say right now we're in pretty good shape. Financial, which is very important for a lot of reasons. You can't really put a dollar sign on any of our participants' lives. They're all priceless. But we need to know that programs like this somehow work. And this isn't a program that really brings in money. So we're not going to have a checking account to show how much money we made, but it's a program that saves the county money. So we've had 16,803 participant days, and taking out the 621 days that we had in jail leaves us with 16,182 days. The daily incarceration rate in the state of Wisconsin prison system is $105.87. So every one of those days spent out in the community and not in prison was a savings of $1.7 million. Now, our grant total is just a little bit below $190,000 a year. So about almost $16,000 a month. If you take a look at the time of the 3 years, the 36 months, we were getting about a $3 return on every dollar spent in the program. Now, if we take a look as investments, every single one of us, if we were told for every dollar we invest, we'd get $3 back, we put every penny that we had into it. So I would say as far as value is concerned, this program definitely justifies its place on this community and in this community. Fines paid off by our participants while in the program, just about $14,000 in county fines and $9,100 in city fines. You're looking at just a little bit under $23,000. I can almost guarantee you that if our participants had still been using during this whole time, those fines likely would not have been reduced by those numbers. Financial benefits received, not calculated, an increase in child support being collected, obviously taxes being paid from wages when they're working, increased money being spent in the community, especially on Red Bull and coffee, and increase in community service performed. So I figured out, I got an estimated amount of what an hour of court costs. So I multiplied the 496 and a half hours by $229.81, which is the average cost of court time per hour, which takes us to $145,082. With Captain Cronforth's help, I figured out the average time for the arrests and average patrol officer wage. We're taking a look at those arrests of $110,000, the citations of $16,000, and total days in prison came to $1.4 million. One big one I had mentioned before, that we were with 4 mothers during their pregnancy. And I think this is pretty important for babies that are being born dependent on substances. You're looking at a difference in cost of $66,700 to birth a baby that's dependent upon birth versus $3,500 for a healthy newborn. We had 4 moms in the program that we had with the whole time of their pregnancy. Right there, you're looking at like $266,800, considering if they would have been using through their pregnancy. And since they were not, you're looking at $14,000 right there. We're looking at a $250,000 difference. Once again, that money's not nearly as important as a healthy mother having a healthy child. So methodology, how do we do the things we do? We follow the National Association of Drug Court Programs, which has best practices that are suggested. And if you do these things, you should see a reduction in recidivism by pretty startling numbers. Our program caseload is beneath 125. A client has to have at least 90 days clean before they graduate. Average of 3 minutes or greater with the judge at status hearings. I believe for the 3 years, our average is right around 3 minutes, 40 seconds. Our judges do a great job of spending time with the clients. Treatment communicates with court via email. Treatment rep attends drug court staffings. Like I said, our treatment team is fantastic, and they're all involved in the process. Review of the data leads to modification of the program. We do, as a team, do modifications of the program on the fly when needed. We also do a yearly review of our policy procedure manual, our participant handbook. So we're pretty proactive in wanting to keep the program running the best that it can and make the changes necessary to do that. Treatment rep attends court. We do allow non-drug charges. Law enforcement is a member of the team. Captain Cronforce, Joy Brixis, who probably has as much knowledge as anybody on our team as far as the current clients and clients that we're looking at to come in. Their knowledge and opinions are invaluable. And program evaluations have led to modifications in program. I kind of touched on that earlier. The reality of the situation is we treat people like valued human beings. We care about people until they're able to care about themselves. We show compassion to people until they can be compassionate to themselves. We believe in them until they can believe in themselves, hold them accountable until they decide and hold themselves accountable. We focus on them as an individual and not the disease. We surround the individuals with all the necessary supports we can to increase their probability of success. And team members are more than their title or role. It's kind of akin to almost a family. Once you're in the program, whether you successfully complete it, don't successfully complete it, successfully complete it and go back out there, we try to always be there because we legitimately love and care about these people. And I say these people, and I'm one of them. I'm also a person who has decided to live their life in long-term recovery, and thankful for that. And a number of people on our team are also in recovery on the treatment side. So when we're working with the participants, they know that we can connect with the things that they're talking about, the urges, the cravings, torn up relationships from poor choices that we've made in life, being a poor parent, a poor son, a poor partner, a poor husband, wife, whatever it is, and trying to process through that and learning how to forgive ourselves and build upon that into what's hopefully a successful recovery. Go ahead, Tim. So now we're going to go to the most important pieces of the program, and that's the participants, all the participants, everyone. Today, we have three with us. Joey Golden Jr., who is actually a very recent graduate. MEGHAN, who is a current participant right about the middle of the program. And Christy Hobble, who's a past participant. So we'll start off with Joey. And go ahead, Tim. Tim, can you go to the next PowerPoint slide? So Joey started the program on June 3rd, 2019. His commencement date was 1/13/2021. Joey's a small business owner, golden plated food truck, amazing food. He's a 24th Manitowoc County Drug Court Program completion. And Joey's going to talk a little bit about his experience with the program in his own words. And the floor is yours, Joey, and you're on mute.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yep, we can hear you, Joe.
Okay. So, as noted, I was entered into drug court June 3rd of 2019. So going into the program, I didn't know what to expect, whether it be easy or hard. I just knew that I wanted a change in my life. So moving forward, I'd say probably the hardest thing to cope with was the urine analysis. In the beginning of the program, I believe I missed quite a few UA calls, which are a key part of the program. And just to give you an idea of what whether or not a client is clean or not. So the UAs that I missed were they were counted as missed UA. So it kind of set me back in the program as far as days and clean time in the program, but it did not affect my clean time outside of the program. So during the program, I maintained sobriety, but in the program I did get set back as far as clean time goes. And then that also sets your time back in the program as far as the date which you would graduate. So that was probably the hardest part to deal with. Going through some of the programs, it helped me to align goals in order to surpass that lot. Also in the program, it helped me to become that successful business owner, or the small business owner that I am today. Without some of the guidance from a lot of the counselors, I don't believe that I would have been able to achieve as many goals as I've achieved in the program. Dealing with the death of my father was one of the obstacles that I had to overcome, and understanding that that death is a part of life. So it's something that everybody goes through, and how I handle that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry. How I handled that situation, how I would have handled that situation before, is not the same way that I would handle it now, or how I handled that then. And it's due to the mental health help that I've had, and also the support team that I have. I'm not sure what else to talk about. I know that I've been in other programs where the help wasn't there. The program was there, but the help in the program wasn't there. So entering in this program, it was kind of expected that I would have the same results as I've had in the other programs. For example, in the challenge incarceration program where it's boot camp and it's a 6-month program and it's a get out of prison early program. As I seen it, it didn't really help. It didn't really help me to change my behavior. More of the train of thought, but not the behavior that I was doing. And also, it's an incarceration program, so the type of things that I went through in prison didn't really help me outside of prison. So it was kind of like a guessing program to where we assume that this is going to happen when you get out, and this is how you should handle that situation when you get out if that happens. But this is more real life and hands-on. So the type of things that we're dealing with here on the streets are being handled immediately, or can be handled immediately, and you have people to go to immediately versus there you don't really know what you're going to be up against. And like I said, it's kind of a guessing game. Like when you get out, you might end up in a certain situation, and this is how you handle that situation if you end up in that. But if you don't end up in those situations, it's hard to predict how to handle that, not knowing what you're going into. Is there anything else?
No, you did awesome, Joey.
Okay.
Stick around for questions, Joel.
Yes, sir.
All right, and next up, we're going to bring up MEGHAN GEHRKE. Tim, if you want to bring up the next PowerPoint. MEGHAN started the program on 7/27/2020. She's currently in phase 3. And then we'll let MEGHAN talk a little bit about her experience thus far in the program.
Hello. Hi. Okay, so let's see. July 27th is what it was when I entered. So basically what led me up to, entering drug court was, so I've been using substances since I was 14. And when I was about 26, I started using meth and heroin. And, it just went like super downhill real fast. Within like 5 or 6 years, I collected a few felony charges. And the last warrant that was issued for my arrest, I was sitting in jail and really just like at the end of it, like where to go from here. And drug court was an option. And I went ahead and turned myself into jail, and I stayed in jail for about a month, and it was like right when COVID was hitting. So I was really in there on the warrant, and then also to quarantine for 2 weeks. And then go to treatment. So I ended up being in there for about a month. I went to treatment in Fond du Lac for 90 days, and then I came back and was sworn into drug court, pled into drug court. And I really didn't know what to expect. I just really wanted to not go to jail or prison, and that was my main motivation in the beginning. But whoa, was I in for a treat. I've gotten a lot more than I could ever even fathom getting out of this program. So one of the things I want to talk about is like the connection of resources that I've gotten since being in drug court. So I live in sober living. It was T-Box, now it's Lake Street, and that's through CORE Treatment Services. So I linked up with them. Also through Human Services, the CCS, the Comprehensive Community Services, which is like working with a team of providers to develop like a treatment, like goals basically, and then working with people to meet those goals. when I first came back, I went into IOP, so intensive outpatient program. And I would say what I learned the most valuable thing I learned from there was like how to open up and process things, and beginning to learn to like trust people and talk about, issues, because honesty and transparency has been a struggle for me through the drug court process so far. And it's like a self-preservation thing, I think. So learning how to start opening up was really the most valuable thing I got out of IOP. Right now I'm in MRT, which is moral recognition therapy, and that is like a cognitive behavioral treatment, which like leads toward more like enhanced moral reasoning and like just making better decisions. Learning a lot in there. And then also like through human services, the medical assisted treatment. So like I'm on Vivitrol, which helps with like the opiate cravings. And then working with like mental health, so Maria, and then AODA with Don, and then I meet with Jason too, and we just like work on, the struggles like that I have. So then I also want to talk about like specific problem areas that I've identified and like begun working on, and I really don't think I ever would have touched on any of these had I not been in the program. So like I said before, honesty and transparency, and personal boundaries, self-respect, gaining and maintaining employment. I haven't worked for 6 years, so I just started working. It's a great feeling. Also, a huge one is exploring my spirituality. So like that Rule of 40 sheet, one of the things on there is sponsor contact. So like gaining a sponsor and working with them. And I think exploring spirituality has been huge for me, and like kind of exploring myself, which I think is it's hard to recover from anything, until you get to know yourself. So that's been huge. Also healing damaged relationships like with my family, and then parenting and recovery feeds into that too, because I have a daughter who's 13, and when I started using meth and heroin, I signed over guardianship to my mom, and I really just fell off the face of the earth for like the last 5 years. So I come back into her life, and I don't know who she is. She's a totally different person. So I'm also getting to work, on the parenting and recovery piece, which is hard. There's a lot of guilt and shame associated with that. So working with all the people on that, all my treatment providers, my team. So then I just want to talk a little bit about, like, I guess for me personally, the sanctions that I received, and then some of the incentives that I've received in drug court. So like my lack of honesty, it was definitely a struggle for me. And in the beginning, I did receive a jail sanction for 5 days, which, some might say was harsh, but like I really think that's what I needed because I don't know if I would have learned any other way. That like Maria would say to me, Megan, it's hard to work with you if you can't be honest. So yeah, that was huge. That was a good thing for me. And then it happened again in phase 2, where my lack of honesty came out, and it ended up being like I had a treatment related intervention. So like I got to interview Ann Larson, and then interview, the assignment was to interview 2 women a week as like an ongoing thing, and then discuss it in my treatment. And the point of that, that's another thing I struggle with too, is like seeking validation in men, and like really investing in relationships with women is something that is a struggle for me. And so what I found they're called sanctions, but really it wasn't a sanction. It was a good thing, investing in relationships with women and seeking, like, finding my worth through that. That's been awesome. I also did have a missed call-in. I didn't miss the UA, but I missed a call-in in the very beginning. And for that, I received 4 hours of community service. And then some incentives. So like reaching new phases. So like there's a decreased frequency of court appearances then. So now in phase 3, I only appear once every 3 weeks. Also, it reduces like my probation supervision. So instead of meeting with him once a week, I meet with him every other week. The encouragement and praise, it may sound like not much, but it's a really good feeling to get encouragement and praise from people who you admire and like look up to. So that's always a really nice thing to receive in the drug court appearances. And then also beginning to work. So like that's something that we have to like ask to do, you know, like make sure that we're ready and that working won't interfere with, like, it's just something we have to ask permission for. So like I was granted permission to start working, and that has been huge in my life. Makes me feel really good to work and, you know, make my own money, and just it really helps with my self-worth. And then like most importantly, just reaching and fulfilling my goals like is a great feeling, and drug court really helps with that. So yeah, that's all I got. I love drug court. I really do though. Yeah.
Megan, you did amazing.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
And lastly, we have Christy Howell. Christy had started the program on 2/4 of 2020. She was discharged on 7/29 of 2020. At that time of her life, drug court just wasn't the right spot for Christy. But she's got a really amazing story that I'm excited for people to hear. So, Christy, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't in drug court for very long, but I still have gotten so much out of drug court. I went to treatment in October of 2019, and before I went to treatment, I got just a small charge of possession. And when Jason interviewed me for drug court, he said that the charge wasn't very big, but because I did have a lengthy criminal record, like he still like talked to the team and they accepted me into drug court. And I really wanted that accountability. I really wasn't, I thought I was ready to get clean, but I didn't change my actual thinking yet. So when I got out of treatment, I struggled with drug court. Like I had a few relapses. I struggled with honesty. I struggled with boundaries. But throughout drug court, I never didn't feel supported. I never felt like when I had a relapse or something that I was just worthless or anything, because I remember being in Jason's office and him telling me, like, you still have my respect. You can look me in my eyes. Like, it's okay. Like, this kind of thing happens. And they still, like, supported me until they just couldn't support me anymore. Like, and that was on me. It wasn't, like, anything with them that I got terminated, but it was my actions. But drug court still, like, helped me with the rule of 40, like, learning how to live. Like, I still had to do those things while I was in drug court, right? So I learned all those things, and after I was terminated, I was still determined to stay clean. So I took all those skills that I learned in drug court and I use them to this day, and it just helped me. I can't even explain how much it's helped me. I went to jail in June 18th, and I was terminated in July. And I told the judge, I was like, I still plan on staying in recovery. So when I got out of jail, actually, Jason came to see me, and I was crying to him, and I was like, I don't know how to do this recovery thing without drug court. Can I still come see you? And he said, yes, all the support for you is still here. You just won't have the daily call-ins or the rule of 40 to do anymore. And Maria, one of the counselors, and Don set it up for me to be able to go to CORE Treatment Center after I was released from jail. So I did. And I went to CORE and I graduated. I was pregnant during this time that I had a daughter that I gave up for adoption. And Maria helped me through that so much. She set it all up for me. And I'm so grateful for the support I just have gotten throughout that time, because it was very traumatic still at the same time. But so I graduated from CORE, and then I started to see Jason, and continue to do the things that drug court has taught me. And at first I was like super scared, right? Because I didn't have like the daily call-ins and I didn't have as much accountability. But once I started doing the things that drug court taught me, like I got it. Like I have 7 months clean on Wednesday, and that's the longest I've ever had clean. And I have 2 sons that like are so proud of me. Like I have such a good relationship with them now. I can't even explain how much drug court has just done for me, even though I didn't successfully complete the program. I still just learned a lot from them. Yeah, that's all I got.
Great job, Christy. Yeah, what I really appreciated about the past clients, current clients, vulnerability to come on here tonight and speak their truth and tell their story. You know, whether it was successful at the time or not, drug court isn't for everyone. It's not a magic bullet. It's not. It's not a guarantee. Nothing is. You know, if a person wants it bad enough, they're going to get it. And Christy fought to continue to keep the same people in her life for supports, and those people, myself included, were all very privileged to have her ask us to remain in her life as supports. So, yeah, the everything that we do is really about the participants. They're worth every minute, second, penny that we put into this. And it's just been a tremendous opportunity for people to get their lives on track. It's been a tremendous thing for the community because the recovery capital in this community has grown exponentially. Court treatment services, Lighthouse Recovery Community Center, recovery coaches, peer support specialists, people educating themselves and learning that we're not a disease, you know, and it doesn't define us, nor does it have to. Alcoholic, addict, whatever is definitely part of the definition of who I am, but I'm also a drug court coordinator and a son and a husband and a father and all these other amazing things that I probably never believed or understood that I'd be able to do, especially in the inactive addiction. And one of the things that helps me in my recovery is just meeting with these people every single day, all the participants, seeing how strong they are. I mean, this is a group of people that are getting through and navigating things that I probably never could have in early recovery, from the COVID going on, which is completely counterintuitive to recovery because we say, get out there, don't isolate, do all these things. And then we rip it back and say, no, isolate. We want you staying in. That's really counterintuitive to recovery. So the people who have started their recovery process during COVID has been, it's been a hard process. It's been hard for us as therapists and as drug court team members to deal with just along with them. So I guess, actually, Joey, Judge Dewane wanted you to comment on the difference between when court was live and in person versus on Zoom.
So, when court was live and in person, the community showed up. They showed the court. And you really got the feel of like behind you versus, I guess now where we don't. Everything is on Zoom or through Zoom. It's kind of on you to cheer yourself on. I mean, like you still have the community, and the community can still back you up, but it's definitely not the same. So, from from what I went through, I mean, like, you really have to be a strong individual to continue to accept accountability for your actions, or go through the program and knowing that there's not as many eyes on you, there's not as much physical support as it was before when I first started.
Thanks, Joey. That was extremely diplomatic to translate. I think what Joey was trying to say is court via Zoom stinks, but we're dealing with it as best as we can. Missing that human part, having the community standing behind us, like metaphorically and literally. There is so much power in that right now we don't get to utilize due to the pandemic. And I mean, for good reason. It would be irresponsible to have a courtroom packed with people like we normally do. But it certainly has definitely changed the tone of the things that we do. Judge, I don't know if you want to speak on that at all.
Yeah, I do want to touch on this, and I wanted to bring this up before, but I forgot, and then you said something and it reminded me. I want to make sure this gets out there, because I can't tell how many people are logged into this, but what I want people to know is Manitowoc is, I think, an unparalleled example of how the community embracing a program can cause it to flourish. I remember the very first day we had court, and there were people there, and people from the public coming to watch. And you know, most court is open to the public. It's just that nobody comes, nobody cares. And I remember, I don't know if you remember, Jason, although I'm almost positive you would, saying to you that day, there are people out there, you know. I mean, what, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. And it just grew. And when we were going around and doing site visits, I don't ever remember seeing the general public at drug court. The only time there were other people besides participants there were days when one of the participants was graduating and it was their family or friends. So that's something that we've had to adapt to. And quite honestly, as much as, you know, Joey enjoyed feeling the support, feeling like he had everyone there, there are just as many people who, you know, won't say this in court, but they'll be like, "How these people are just here to watch a train wreck," you know? No, they're not. The community is bought in, and they really, I can't say this enough. And Jason, I'm sure you've seen it. But the change in attitude, the change in the community's attitude towards people in recovery from the time we started until now is night and day. And if I could, I'd give the community award. I'd give everybody who comes to that those sessions an award. You know, when we say there's nothing we won't do for these people, you know, on the one hand, that's expected. We work with them. You know, there are people from the public who come up to us, you know, after hearings when we could have them in person, and they'd be like, "Is there anything I can do to help?" And you know, it's one thing to tell someone. To tell a client who's in drug court, you know, people will support you if you start making the right decisions, and you can't ever show that to them. You know, but then to tell them, turn around and look at all these people who are here, and taking time out of their day to come and support you, to come and let you know that they want you to succeed, that they want you to do better, that they want you to, you know, have the life that you want to have. I have nothing but bottomless thanks for the people from the public who support this program. They ask all the time, when can they come back? and I tell them as soon as we can come back, we'll let you back. It is astounding to me. It is absolutely astounding to me. And it's made all the difference, I think, in just about every aspect. We have people offer to let, our clients do community service for their organizations. We have people offer to help us find housing for our people. It's unbelievable, the level of support that we have from the community. And I quite frankly think it's a major factor in how successful we've been able to be. So do you want me to ask, to tell Tim it's question time?
Sure, Judge.
Okay. So if anyone has questions, because, look, at the end of the day, Jason and I, a PowerPoint presentation only tells you so much. And, the participants they're nervous. They're not as used to or comfortable speaking in front of people. And quite honestly, I don't know that they would have done as good a job as they did if they had known how many people were watching them. But if anyone has any questions for me or Jason or Megan or Christy or Joey, go ahead and ask. If it's just something you want to know, if it's something that we talked about, if it's something we didn't talk about, now's the time, because we certainly don't get as many people on Zoom as we did in person. So if anybody has questions, let Tim know.
I'm going to leave Jason's contact information scroll at the bottom through this. So Jason's email address is on here. And if anyone needs to get in touch with him, that's a good way to do it. Does anyone mind if I do comments before questions? Because we did have a lot of people following along throughout. Are comments okay with you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'll get rolling right from the, a lot of people just, thanking people for drug court in Manitowoc. And grateful for Jason, Judge Dewane, Roar, Don, Jerry, and everyone in the program. This program is so very important to the community. Thanks for this program. This one is very personal. That's coming up. Someone typed in, this program saved my son. Jason did not give up on him, which, it's just amazing, the testimonials that continue to come through. I'm grateful for the drug court team and the patience that they have shown me from participants and just the community in general. So proud of everyone involved in drug courts, participants and volunteers. Investing in people. I am proud of the person-centered community we are building. Some of these reflect back on what was presented. Saves the county so much money and invests in the improved lives of participants, employers, neighbors, children, extended families. What a great investment drug court is. And following that, great for the community, great for taxpayers, great for the participants. The support throughout is just a wonderful. The Manitowoc County Drug Court is fantastic and has a great team of people saving lives. There was one that I definitely wanted to get up here, and it's a longer one, so I'll read along. From Chrisma, I cannot thank you enough for all you do, Manitowoc Drug Court team, participants, and community supporters. It definitely takes a village. What has unfolded these last few years in Manitowoc is phenomenal. Dedication, commitment, and a whole lot of inspiration. Jason, you have done an amazing job in quantifying all that has been done. These were specifically done during when people were, giving their experiences. Congratulations to all those involved. I was able to attend drug court graduation, and it was very moving experience. Keep up the good work, everyone. We support you all. They just keep coming. The honesty and insight such a testimony to how it works, inspiring, specifically for MEGHAN, amazing. And thank you for sharing your story, Ms. GEHRKE. We learned a lot from the information. You are very brave. I'm going to keep going because there are just so many things. Thank you for your story. Even though you found another path to sobriety, it's a success for you, and you are very brave. And then just a very basic one, but very, in general, the attitude that's being reflective. And I'm not just editing things out. I'm not reading any negative comments. There just aren't any. Everything is just very supportive. Looking for the day we can come back to the courtroom. Everyone was saying, that they can come back, and Zoom isn't the way to go. Thank you for your honesty and willingness to let us see your humanity. Your courage is awesome. It was so powerful to see standing room only in drug court. I actually, I have to keep scrolling because they're still coming in. So now I'm going to go back to the top and switch to questions, because that seems like, sorry to anyone whose comment I didn't get to. Unfortunately, we can't stay here all night, but I will, let's get to some of the questions. Let me see. Someone asked you to show the plaque that you were talking about, Judge Dewane. Is it possible? Is that at your disposal that you could get to it?
I took a picture of it because I wanted to show all the people in court. So give me a second and I'll find it for you.
Okay.
Apologies to Joe because I took it before Joey's name was on there. But there it is. When we started, it was blank. And Joey's name is the one that probably by now has been added, Jason?
I believe Angela probably added it.
Yeah. So that's it. 24 people and more than exponentially more than 24 lives changed. It is there's not a lot in my line of work that I can sit down at the end of the day and reflect on and think to myself, damn, that was awesome. But every day that I'm done with drug court, that's what I think to myself. Whether it's a day where everybody, hit their marks, whether it's a day where, somebody had to be sanctioned, whether it's a day where somebody had to be sent to jail, whether it's a day where somebody had to be terminated. I mean, I remember Christy telling me, I'm going to keep going. And, I remember going home and telling my wife, you wouldn't believe this woman's strength. For her to be in a situation that she thought was going to be, life-saving, to be terminated from it, and to still have the strength to say, I'm going to keep going. I'll have to find a different way to do it, but I'm going to keep going. I mean, it's awesome. It's inspiring when people graduate. It's, in Christy's case, it was oddly inspiring that, when she was terminated. It's inspiring every day when they do the work. And the thing, like with a plaque, okay, the reason the plaque matters is because it matters to people who don't understand it. It's like something tangible that you can show someone who doesn't understand what goes into it, and they can equate it with success. But at the same time, I've talked to a lot of those people whose names are on that plaque, and Joey, you can tell me if this is your experience or not. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, because I haven't talked to you about it yet, because you're freshly minted. But it matters to them. They tell me, I want my name on there. They tell me, I want people to see that I did this. And how do you argue with that? Like Jason said, how do you put a price on that? How do you get somebody to go from not caring what people thought of them to striving for, a piece of metal that's, 1 inch by 2 inches or something like that. It's amazing. Joy, did having your name on the plaque, was it a focus to you?
Yes, sir. And it's also a motivation to continue going. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So there's the long answer to just showing you the picture.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, it's better to get a long answer. It explains the importance of it. And I think it's important to get that out there. Here's a question. Do a lot of people of color enter drug court? If not, what can be done to encourage them to sign up?
I'll take that, Judge.
Okay.
We have not had an exceptionally diverse participant list. It may be close to the population numbers of Manitowoc County. As far as getting it up, so the people have to have qualifying offenses, first of all. They have to be referred. So it's not really a point of not attempting to get BIPOC individuals into the program. It's a point of either possibly having disqualifying offenses to keep them out, not being referred, etc.
As long as we're on the subject, Joy, did that, tell us as like, the only person of color in the program, how did you feel about it at first, and did that change by the end?
In the beginning,
Now's the time to be honest, Joe. That's what your coin says. Honesty.
well, in the beginning, or before entering drug court, that was one of the questions that was asked: is how many people of color are in drug court, or how many have graduated or completed the program. And I'm not sure of the answer, but being one of the only people of color that was in drug court during the period of time that I was in there, definitely made me feel like I was a part of, and nothing less than that. So being in the community itself doesn't necessarily do that for me, but being in that program definitely made me feel like I was the same as anyone else.
Okay. Should we move on to the next question?
Sure.
All right. What kind of follow-up support is there following graduation?
Realistically, the answer to that is as much as the participants want. Once you're in the program, I guess it's kind of like the mafia. You're never really getting out. So I meet with half a dozen of our graduates regularly, weekly, bi-weekly. I stay connected on the phone with almost every client that we've ever had consistently. They are more than welcome to remain in services at Human Services, which a lot have continued to do up to their discretion. But we definitely try to stay as connected as humanly possible, because sometimes there are slip-ups. Sometimes people do go back out there. And we want them to feel safe enough to come back if they want that. So it's extremely important for myself and a number of the treatment providers to remain in contact with as many people as we can from the program to make sure they're doing well. And if they're not, how can we help you get back on track? How can we help you do better if you want that? And there's the alumni group, which had just started getting going a couple months before COVID started. And that has since kind of paused. But when we had the alumni group, we were getting 10 to 13 alumni pretty consistently. That will definitely get going again, because that was our alumni are very, very strong individuals.
Is there a treatment facility in Manitowoc?
There is, yeah. Core Treatment Services has opened up. Oddly enough, they were scheduled to open, I believe, the day before the shutdown happened, so like March 11th, 12th, something like that, which really kind of threw a monkey wrench into their plans. But they offer both residential services, day treatment, and also intensive outpatient services now. So Manitowoc does have a provider right in town. They're right over by Holy Family Medical.
Okay. The next question is, what group of offenders do you want to serve in a court that you haven't been able to thus far?
So that's a really good question. So drug court falls under the umbrella of treatment courts or problem-solving courts. Drug court is just basically one type. There's mental health court, there's family drug court, there's heroin court, there's domestic violence court, there's OWI court. There's 8 or 10. Definitely, I would like to see a family drug court, mental health courts, which are starting to get a little bit more represented throughout the United States and Wisconsin. Rule of thumb is you really shouldn't have more problem-solving courts than you have judges. And right now, Manitowoc County has 3 judges. So we could potentially, based on, if we find the grants or the funding, have up to 3 different problem-solving courts. And I would love if all 3 judges had their own problem-solving court. The ones to go with, based on need, I think, would either be the family drug court, which deals with people who have lost their children or on CHIPS petitions, kind of dealing with the whole family unit to keep them or get them back together, healthy, etc. And then mental health court is for people that suffer from severe and persistent mental illness as a primary diagnosis. I think both would definitely fit this area.
A few more comments as I'm going, just because, and I imagine more questions will pop up, but drug court saved my life. Manitowoc really needed this. This is for all 3 of you that, were here to tell your stories, just warriors, another person, who says that drug court saved their life. And there are things throughout here, just because we don't have, like I said, all the time in the world, for all 3 of you that are just, singing your praises for your honesty and for coming out. I'll throw a compliment in here for the library and the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this important educational program for our community. It's real, which is really fantastic and inspiring. Thank you. I'm just glad that the League approached the library about doing this program. This is something that they were definitely instrumental in making happen, which is fantastic. Just a few more comments. Drug court is the best thing that Manitowoc has ever done. Miss being there in person to support and hear the stories of all the participants. We'll be back as soon as it is allowed. And our final comment that we have, if anyone who's watching has any more questions to ask, please do at this point. Drug court has been for me just as much as they were while I was in the program. If I reach out, they're right there. The testimonials are fantastic. That there is so much community support is fantastic. Do any of you have any like parting comments? Anything you would like to say? Anyone? I'm just going to reopen the forum for anyone who has anything to say.
Tim, were there any comments talking about how handsome I am? I was wondering if my mom was watching.
I didn't want to bring that up, but there were, I would say, an embarrassing amount. Is that wrong of me to put it that way?
No, those are all my mom aliases. Love you.
I would just encourage people, if they're supportive of the program and if they believe in the program, tell everyone that you can. Particularly tell your representative on the county board, because grants run out, and then the county needs to make decisions on how they're going to spend dollars. And I can't think of a more beneficial way to spend money. If you're looking to spend your money wisely as the county, I can't think of a better way to do it than this program. And the people in charge of those decisions need to know that the community cares about it. It was always a focus, between Jason and myself and others on the team to try and get as many decision makers, quote unquote, as we could to drug court sessions when we had them in person, because it's one thing to hear about it. It is entirely something else to see. And I would encourage everybody. I mean, I understand that it's time out of your day and a lot of people can't do it. But when we get to the point, and we will get to the point that we'll be back in session, it's Wednesdays at 9:00 in the branch 1 courtroom. And I forget who commented about it before, but there have been times it's been standing room only. It is ridiculously awesome how supportive this community is, but it can't stay like a closed support. We have to make sure that the right people know how important this program is.
All right. We do have confirmation, Jason, that your mother is watching.
Very good.
She has confirmed. I'm going to jump back on screen. And just a final announcement that the League of Women Voters will be continuing to study the benefits of creating other treatment courts in the county, such as mental health court, and will release a report and recommendations later this year. So there is that. There were some questions about that and comments on that as well. As we wrap up, I just want to thank Jason and Judge Dewane for organizing this whole thing. And Joey, even though you had some problems getting your face on screen earlier in this, I'm glad you made it on. And Megan and Christy, thank you to all three of you so much, as the people said in the commentary, for your honesty and your forthcoming. And it was just great to hear real people talking about real things and how their lives have been affected. So I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you to everyone who tuned in for this tonight. And hopefully we'll be able to bring you more programming like this in the future. So thank you very much for tuning in for Community Impact of Drug Court in Manitowoc County. And thank you so much to everyone who participated on the panel this evening. Have a great night, everyone.
Take care, everybody.